In this lesson, we're going to see how we can apply text, but pin it to the ground as the video moves forward. So basically we have a video and there's like motion, and we just want the text to be in one spot without moving around or just being kind of unrelated to the video. So I'm gonna import my footage. We have two videos, just bring them in. And also, I did want to mention something. If you plan on doing this with your own footage, make sure that there is as less shake as possible. So either shoot this on a tripod, a drone, a gimbal, or if you are doing it handheld, make sure you're really careful about the movements, because if there's a lot of shaking, then it will not turn out so good. So I'm going to start with this car video that I have, and I'm going to make a composition out of the videos themselves, because the camera tracking will not work if it's not directly from the video. So instead of creating a new composition, just drag your video in the timeline, and now that is a composition on its own. I'm going to rename this to car. So basically what we have here is just a drone shot of this car. It goes past the car, and then it's just going towards the end of the road. I'm going to come back. So what we need for this lesson is the tracker panel. If you're not seeing this, go to Window, Tracker. Just click that. I already have it here. Then select your car video and just hit Track Camera. Now this is going to track every single movement that the video has. And that's going to help us to add a text to one of those points that After Effects is going to find for us. And then we'll be able to add a text, maybe change the font and all that. But the cool thing about this is that the text is going to be 3D. So maybe we could add a drop shadow, and it's just a fun thing to do. You've probably seen it in movies as well. So this is our first example. It's the car. I'm going to put the text around here, somewhere on the road. And in another example, it's going to be flat. So here we're going to do a 3D version. The other example, we'll do a flat version. So you can choose whichever you prefer. And here you can see it says how far it came along. Right now it's on 84%. My video isn't that long, so it's not going to take forever. But if you do have a long video, it will obviously have more frames and it will take After Effects more time to analyze it. Alright, so we've seen, you can see all these tiny dots everywhere and this giant disc that we see. So these are all the movements of the video. And you can see After Effects tracked each and every single one. The thing that moves the most has a lot of points, which is this car, and the things that don't move that much are just here. So what we want to do is to just go over and find a flat area to put our text, because we don't want it to be tilted or else it's going to look weird. So I'm going to grab this guy and I'll right click and then text and camera. So you can see the text there. It's kind of flat. I'm going to get the text tool and click on that guy. First, I'm going to hit Control A and just make it white so we can see it. And then we need to change the rotation and all that because we can't really see. Open the text layer, open transform. And I'm going to go to the X rotation. It's like it's kind of coming alive. And there's our text. I'm going to change the orientation as well if it's not in the place that you want it. I'm going to make it a little straight. You can maybe rotate it around here. You can maybe follow the car. Just there's a lot to do with these transform tab. Just gonna let it be. I did want to bring it down a little. like so. You can also reduce the size if it's a bit too much for, it's a bit too big for you. Just go down to scale and just make it small. Right, now if I go forward in time, you can see the text is standing still and it's not moving its position. That's because we have a 3D camera. I'm gonna go back to this thing. And I just want to reposition my text. I'm not happy with where it is. I'm gonna get the selection tool and just kind of move it in the center. There are no stopwatches, so it's not animated. And all I could do is just kind of change the orientation. I want it to kind of be lifted upwards. So I guess I'll change this. I'm on the orientation tab. And also move this guy a bit here. Won't be perfectly straight, but we can see that it looks pretty cool. Right. So now we have our text. We changed the transform and all that. We made it just the way we wanted. Now we need to type in the thing that we want. So go on the text layer, get the text tool and just click, double click to get the whole thing and type in whatever you want. Let's write drive. And you can also change the color just like you would with any layer. I'm going to make it a really vibrant color so we can see it. And the rest is good for me. You can change the font if you want. It's a bit too big. Let's go with a simple font, a little bulky. And just, you can make it small if you want. I'm going to keep it around here. Move it forward, check to see if it looks good even when it's a bit further, and it looks cool to me, so I'm going to leave it be. Alright, we have our text, and you can see right now it's a 3D layer on its own, so don't touch this. I'm going to close my drive layer. And now you can leave it be like this, it's just a text. I'm going to zoom out. Let me let this render, and then we could see what exactly we did by using a 3D camera. So this is it. We got the text. Just moving forward. And it looks cool. I'm going to try something and kind of rotate the video. Maybe scale it in. Because the slanted line was kind of bothering me. So you could transform your video. There's no problem with that. Just make sure you don't touch the FX and the 3D camera. And of course the 3D text layer. Alright, so now we have this. We can also lie the text flat on the floor. Let's try that. I think that will look cool. Come down to transform and go to X rotation and just kind of make it flat. And I did wish that before I made the transform adjustments, I would have changed the position of my anchor point. As you can see, you can't do it right now after you've done all of that, because you'll disturb the transforming that we did so far. So it's not exactly right, but we're just going to work with what we have and then continue. But you could do this before all of the transform options. Kind of go for something like this. Kind of lie it on the floor. And then we can always just change the orientation. Gotta go a little bit to the right. And then we can work with the Y rotation. I think the position was fine actually. Let's try the X rotation. Go on the opposite side. Maybe we can scale it so it's smaller. I want it to fit inside the road and kind of be in the center. All right. I accidentally made it bigger. Just go back and just let go before, as in let go after you've adjusted the size. Let's go on DX rotation. It needs to come down a little bit. Let go. Let's have a look and see how it looks. And if we are able to read it. And we are. Okay. So we were able to put our text like this. You can either leave it up or leave it flat. You saw we were able to do both. And now, for an additional thing, though we could actually leave it up so we can add a drop shadow. I'm just going to hit Control Z or Command Z until I have my original text. Because adding a shadow to a text like this would make more sense. So now that I have my text, I'm going to close all of these. Open up Effects and Presets. Just go to Window, Effects and Presets, and search for Drop. And then come down here, Drop Shadow. Click and drag to put it on this. And we have some options here. Opacity set to 50. Bring it all the way up. The distance is, there it is. Just gotta align it with the text. And also we can change the direction. I'm gonna try going up a bit, then a little down. Then I'm gonna add to the softness. Unless you want a sharp shadow, you can leave that at 0. Change the shadow color if you want. I'm going to leave it be like this and just reduce the opacity so it looks realistic. Come in a few frames and see if it looks good. I'm going to add more to the opacity. Then change the direction. Alright, so you can see we have this soft shadow effect behind our text. Just close that down. But if you want the shadow to kind of drop down on the floor, then this will not work out. Let me show you how you could do a 3D shadow effect. So just go to Drop Shadow, hit Backspace to delete it. Duplicate your drive layer, Control D, or Command D, bring drive 2 below this. I'm going to name this text shadow. On the text shadow layer, I'm just going to open up the properties. Before I do that, I'm just going to turn it to a darker color because it is a shadow. Let's go for the color black. We can work with the opacity later. If I turn on the turn off the first drive text, we have this black one underneath. Leave that be, and then we're gonna go in the transform tab like we were. Just gonna turn the first one off for a second, and without moving anything else, we're just gonna move the X drive, X rotation, and just kind of make it flat on the floor. I'm going to bring back my layer and see if this is what I want. So this would show that the sun or light source is coming from here. You can always change the rotation. Just go on either Y or Z if you wanted to move up and down, or the other side. This is where you would do it. I'm just going to leave mine be. I'm going to pretend that the light source is coming from here. And now we also want to just lower the opacity. Like how it is with real shadow, it's not all black. I'll leave it be. Now once we move in a few frames, you can see that we have this really nice shadow effect. And we could always just change the direction or just not put a shadow at all. So I'm just going to close this guy. You could also add a blur effect. If you don't want it to be sharp, go to Effects and Presets and look for blur. And just get a Gaussian blur. Place it on top of text shadow. Now in the properties, just add some blur. You can add quite a lot if you want it to be soft. You can see that it softens it out because it's being blurred out. I'm going to leave it at around 34. Hit M on the car and let it render so we can see what we did. So basically we just placed a random text with shadows, and we asked After Effects to track the motion and allow for this 3D effect with our text layer. And you've probably seen these used a lot in movies when they're either the beginning of the movie or it's the credits. So it's a fun thing to do with your clips and your videos. Alright, so this was the first example. You can obviously keep working with it until you're happy. I'm going to leave this one be here, and now we're going to look at another example where we can add a flat text. So I'm going to stop this, delete all of this, or just go into Project Panel and delete this composition. Before that, I'm just going to right click on my second video, make new comp from selection. Now we have like 2 folders. I'll just delete the first folder. So this is the other video we have. It's going to render. But basically, you just want to make sure that you make the composition from the video, because the track motion, the track camera effect only works on the video's original side, original dimensions. And therefore, you just want to create a composition from that video itself and not create a separate one in After Effects. So I'm just going to let this load so we can think about what we want to do. And then I'll be back to see what we can do. Alright, so this is the clip we have. It's just a little wall, and the problem with this video is that it's a flat wall, a flat color. And it's going to be really hard for After Effects to track, but I'm still going to show you guys how it would work with these 2 options that we went over, and we'll see what solution we can find for a video like this. And for this video, we have around 15 seconds, which is a bit longer than the other video. So I'm just going to let this find the points, and then we're going to add that tiny text. But unlike the first video, we have a rather flat thing. So depending on what you have, you would either choose a 3D effect where it's like standing on the road. The road was our example. Or you could have it just be on a wall like this. And then we're still doing the track camera and not a regular text layer, which may end up being our solution because, like I said, it's a flat wall. And it's going to be hard for After Effects to track. But the thing with regular text layers is that you have to do all the positioning yourself. So if you're planning to use a wall like this, it would be helpful if it had like maybe a dot on it or something for After Effects to track. And we're still going to test these out so I can show you the result. That way you would know which method to choose with your own videos. So this has a long way to go. We have 392 frames, 14 minutes. I'm going to let this do its thing, and then we'll be back to see how we can add our text. Alright, so after this happened, we can see that we're not really getting these points on the place where we want to put our text. That is because this is a flat white surface, and there isn't much motion going on. And we only have some options in the background, but that's not where we want to put our text. So in times like these, we have to revert to something else. We're still using the tracker, but instead of the tracker, we're going to use track motion. So let's just delete this. So this does not work in this scenario, but it did perfectly well with the first example. All right, so I'm going to go in my clip, and I also trimmed my video to 4 seconds, so things would just be faster. Just right click here, new, null object, leave that be, and then go back on the, let me name this, let's name this wall. Go back on the wall layer and hit track motion. Once you hit this, you just want to make sure that the motion target is set to your null object. You can edit it to make sure, but we don't have much going on, so that would be easy. And now we have this box. What we want to do with this box is to just make it large enough for our wall that we have. You can also move it up and down. Now it would really help if you had, I don't know, a dot on the wall or just something for After Effects to track so that you don't have this flat white thing. So because we have a flat wall, we're going to get some weird motions. So if you are filming this yourself, just like put a marker here, or maybe add a clock or something, just anything that will help After Effects track the motion. So I'm just going to set the target in the center, make the box somewhat bigger than usual, and make the big box within the bright area, so not these guys. Go in the beginning of your clip and hit this play button. So this is going to analyze each of the steps, and it's going to give you the final product. It may take a while, so again I'm going to wait, let this do its tracking, and then we'll be back to apply our text. Alright, so like we said, because there's nothing for After Effects to track and there's just this white wall, you can see it's not moving because After Effects is confused. So when you want to track a point, you want to make sure there is a point on your video. So on this wall right now, we just have this flat white color, and After Effects cannot really track a point for us to attach a text. So for places like this, all you can do is just write your text and use the position to just keep it within frame. But I am going to show you how the track point works with another video that has a point for me to track. So just double click there and bring the third video in. And I'm just gonna make this new comp from selection. Now we have this composition. I'm going to close this. Close that too. So in this video, we have multiple points that we can track. Let me turn this to third. So we have like a part of her face, but mostly I'm going to focus on the earring that she has. At first, I'm just going to make sure that the earring is visible throughout the entire project. I'm also going to cut this short to 5 seconds. 40 is too long. Alright, let me play this. So when you have a tiny point that you can track, it will be a lot easier for After Effects. And you won't have to deal with some glitches like we did with the flat white wall. So you can see the earring is perfectly in place. Now you could go for a bigger shape, maybe like that lamp in the background. But notice how the lamp is starting to get covered as we progress with the video. So throughout your video, you want to make sure that the object that you choose is in frame. So you saw that the earring is still there, and it's simply just moving up and down. So you can see the earring is there. It's not being covered, and therefore it's a perfect target for me to track the motion and add a text on that. Alright, so again, we're going to make a new null object. Right click here, null object. We're going to go on the video, go to track motion. It's going to open the layer like this, and then we're going to get this tracker points like we did before. I'm going to grab all of them and just zoom in so I can get the heart, and I'm going to move this on the earring. So there's 2 earrings. I could either go for the white one or the bronze one in the back, but the bronze is kind of similar in color with her hair, so I'm just going to keep the earring, the pearl earring. Move this around, make sure that you're getting most of the earring so it won't be that difficult for After Effects. And again, the main point, the cross needs to be in the center of that shape. The small box needs to surround your object. You can't cover it completely, but at least try to get most of the pearl or any object that you have. And then the big box will tell After Effects to where to look for that object. So that means we're going around the little box. Once we have this, go to the right, make sure target is your null object. Oftentimes when you have other layers in here, it might choose one of those, but because we have only one, so it's going to automatically choose null 2. Once you have that, just hit this, analyze forward, and it's going to analyze the clips really slowly. You can see it slowly turns green. And once it's done, we get to apply the motion onto the null object, and then we can link our text to that null object. So I'm just going to let this do its thing and then we'll be back. Alright, so it did the analyzing, and if at any point you saw that, let me come up here. At any point you saw that while it's still doing the analyzing and the box kind of jumps out of your target, just hit space to pause the analyzing process, then just reposition the tracker box onto your object again. But for me, it perfectly tracked my object. I'm going to zoom out, play that back, and you can see it stays on that earring. Go back from the start, and then we're going to hit apply. So it's going to get all of these movements and place it on top or within our null object layer. Hit apply, X and Y, okay. So now we have this tiny red box, and look at all those keyframes. You can see the red box is just moving around. And now we get to, I'm going to close this. On top of null 1, you can see the motions. Right click, or just get the text tool. It's going to get these panels. I'm going to close tracker. Let's write something random like smile. Control A, you can adjust the size, the font, or anything else. I'm going to make it white so we can see it better. Make it smaller and just put it anywhere that you want. I'm going to put like the S here. It's somewhere around here. And then what we're going to do to link the text with the movement, because right now if I play it back, the text is just standing there. Let me bring down the resolution. You can see the text is just standing there and it's not moving with the pearl earring. So we want to make sure that this is linked to all the keyframes that we made. Just get the pick whip, the spiral thing, and grab it on top of, just link it to the null 2. And now you can see that it's stuck to that earring, and as the frame moves outwards, so does the text. And this is just a great way to link text in your videos. For example, if you're teaching something in your video, it's a fun way to track whatever text you want to your hand as you're explaining that topic. It makes things more natural, but in this case, we just linked something random to someone's earring. So just know as long as you have a target that is easily visible throughout your video, you can easily track things onto that. This also applies to shapes. Let me pause this and then turn off the text video. Instead, I'm going to make a rectangle like so. Then I'll move my shape, let's say, on her earring. Then again with the pick whip, we're going to grab it and connect it to null 2. Once we play it back, you can see that the rectangle is stuck to her earring. So this applies to text or shapes, whether you make the shape with the shape tool or the pen tool. Doesn't matter. You can also attach images to that as well. Let me get an image. So I have this random image. I just imported that, and then I'm going to bring it on top. Rescale it if needed. Just bring it, let's say, here. Again, pick whip, connect to null 2. And now this image is also going to move with that target that we chose. And this is how it would look without it, just so you can tell the difference. Change this to none instead of null 2. You can see that even though she's moving, the text is just still. And even goes on her face at times. But if we have the pick whip, you can see that it just moves with the area, which was the earring. So that was how you can track footage and then put text on it. We saw that we can make it in a 3D manner or in a 2D manner like this one. We also learned how important it is when we're using track motion, the option for it. Let me bring that tracker. Close this. Let me go on one of these guys. All right. So when we go in camera, we're basically creating a camera out of all the movements, which was the first example with the road. And when we're tracking the motion, we are going to be tracking a singular point, like we saw. So we need to make sure we have a point or a clear target for After Effects to copy. And these two are just to stabilize the footage, which is not really related to attaching text. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. I will see you guys in the next one.